So I think we have at least one person that is speaking English. Non, 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 non. Je vais essayer de parler plus doucement et puis ça devrait aller parce que ce sera beaucoup plus simple et enfin voilà. Merci d'être venu, surtout quand on sait ce qu'il y a en face. Dailymotion, c'est pas rien, et du coup, enfin, voilà. Moi, ce que je vais m'atteler à présenter, c'est ce qu'on a fait pendant 6 mois, pour faire très court, même pendant 9 mois, depuis le début de l'année, comment la solution a évolué et ce qu'elle devrait devenir, et concrètement, ce qu'on a en vision. Mais alors, on va faire un focus justement sur la partie software defined. Vous avez entendu parler du Grid for Apps avant. La solution, c'est une collection de plein de petits modules, et là, on va regarder vraiment la partie stockage elle-même. Celle qui est open source, soit dit en passant. On est à un moment qui est super intéressant, pour le moment. J'adore l'image, parce qu'on a été obligé de focus beaucoup plus. C'est pour ça que je prends ça volontairement. Ça fait une espèce de venture. C'est qu'on a été obligé d'essayer de faire moins, en diversité, ce qui nous a permis de faire plus, et Venturi faisant, à débit constant, si on réduit la section, en gros on fait plus de vitesse et moins de pression. Donc ce qui nous a permis, sérieusement, de délivrer plus, de meilleure qualité, et quand je dis moins de pression, c'est moins de pression humaine sur ce qu'on est capable de vendre à ce moment-là. Le moment, il est assez important, parce que c'est ce que je vais expliquer là maintenant, c'est qu'il y a un outil qui est en train d'arriver à maturité, et dans un cycle plus général de qualité, on rentre dans une nouvelle phase. Et en fait, ça correspond précisément à aujourd'hui, c'est la fin d'un semestre, d'un trimestre, et c'est pour ça, un nouveau va commencer avec une nouvelle phase, et une release qui l'accompagne, et un nouveau cycle de développement. Hello. In English or in French? English. Ok, no problem. You are now a vast majority of the person. So I was just saying that we were in a key moment in the history of the solution. We had to focus more. That's why we decided to prune not the dead branch, but the ideas, the ideas we had about the features, what kind of market we could target, what kind of connectors, and so. The time and the market made us to make led us to make choices. So we had the answer. We had to focus, and then could deliver it much better. Who does know the solution and who doesn't? How it is made, the architecture, and so.
I don't know.
Not at all. Not at all. Mine a little bit. I will go fast, just at least for anyone to understand what we had to solve and how we did it. A lot of collocated data. It was a real pain because it caused a lot of data to be moved, relocated, and so. With a lot of people to do it, data growing exponentially, and the cost, of course, growing at the same rate. With a lot of constraints enforced by the business, not enough money to provision at day zero for 2 years of load of platforms. So just-in-time provisioning of hardware, heterogeneous hardware, new deals, new vendors, and in a general term, the deal lasts less than the data that it stores. So you have to manage the heterogeneity by design in a solution that stores data for a long time. You have a platform that you have to design for the versatility. Behind the term hides the need to remove devices, empty devices, to turn them off, to administrate the disks themselves, to scrub them, to unfragment, and so and so. And with a real human using the application, moving all together, so that if you want to dimension the platform for a given workload and a given administrative workload, if you want to be optimal, just design for the maximum of both, and cope to do the other workload during the slow pace. I don't know if when the load is slow. So what was famous at the time where we designed the solution was a ring solution, hash-based, virtual space of volumes. You have a unique key for the data you want to push. You make a modulo, and what happens when you stretch or shrink the platform? You have to move data or play with indirections, and that's it. So we didn't want that kind of solution just because the changes of the platform was something that happened each day or each week. So moving data so fast was not an option at all. What did we design? And that's all for the architecture of the solution to cope with that. If we have no known placement by algorithm, we have to choose and remember. Choosing is the role of a conscience. Sorry for the pronunciation. That's the little brain. That's the piece of software responsible to discover new nodes, qualify them, and load taking into account the constraints imposed by the application. For example, I say that I want 3 copies of my data, one on one geographical site and 2 on a second geographically distant site, and that's the breed that is responsible to enforce that kind of rules. And once we know the location, we have to remember where have we put the data in a big directory. To be simple, we layered it to manage the huge amount of data. It was a 10 power 14 so contents at that time. We decided to introduce the notion of container, just a naming notion, but that allowed us to cut the problem in two. We had billions of containers and millions of content into the containers. That was the kind of solution we decided at that time. What was great at that time is that we've put pointers everywhere in the solution. No fixed location. No fixed location in the by algorithm. We have pointers at any place, and the pointers are not plain address like in C code or not memory address, but really a URL, a protocol, a service, and a unique resource on the service. It lets us plug new backends easily. We didn't had this in mind when we started the solution, but it was so easy to do when it was when the ID comes that we did it without any difficulty. And the service is precisely where we express the policy. And as I said, we had no regrets about this because it served us since the beginning. So it was just to explain how things are made, and now just to continue with the original stream of the presentation with what we have done. What was obvious with the focus that was necessary and that happened in the early 2017 was the fact that forcing the application to adapt to our API was something that was not meaningful, but not c'était pas appropriated because it was too expensive for the using application. So we had to go toward nearly complete respect of the compliance for the de facto standard norms on the market. Swift the first because the mapping was ideal, completely ideal for us. The notion of accounts, buckets, contents are exactly the same that we have. We implement them differently, but they are the same. We quickly noticed that even if it was easier, for us it was not the best choice because the industry didn't choose the Swift as the main target. It was obviously S3, so we made the effort to adapt to Amazon S3. A lot of extensions are now managed, but for example, some still lack, for example, IAM for the user and group management. This is something that we cannot still play with. We have the Keystone, the adaptation to Keystone in the OpenStack Swift, but a wrapper of IAM on top of Keystone is not available yet, so we are not allowed to, at the moment to say, okay, AAM, that's okay for us. And also, working on the file system extension was not a was not a choice. We could not deny it just because it was too difficult for the people to adapt their script to manage even pushing the data on an object store with the S3 sometimes was too difficult for a lot of applications, so we had to do it. And I said earlier that we had the notion of bucket that is everywhere in the solution, but unfortunately for us, a lot of solutions doesn't have that notion of bucket and just have a flat space of contents just with naming convention in them in a single bucket. Typically what we have when we get back a customer that is coming from Amazon S3, the customer had one bucket, all the contents sequentially stored, and just want to have exactly the same thing in the solution. We have a way to manage this quite easily because if everything is stored flat, the person already made the effort to adapt the naming of the content to organize for an efficient sorting. If you list, you have to manage the naming of the objects in a way you can list quite efficiently. So if we have a naming we can rely on, we can develop filters simply in the gateways to detect the patterns in the names of the objects, or based on a hash, on a regex, or even if that's a number to divide it, to shard the most efficiently possible on the objects. And that's the way we went to, I think the biggest example was 800 million of content in a single bucket. In fact, with thousands of effective buckets behind. So even in that kind of situation, it was not a problem anymore because of pointers. We can just mangle the pointers, the names, to point with the actual data behind. We spent quite a few time in comparison to manage high-level container services, one dedicated to archive a whole container and to download it as a plain tar archive. The goal behind is to be able to archive and then drain completely the content from the container and put this on something like a Glacier, if you know, on Amazon, something that is really low cost, and you store a big blob from the whole archive, but you let appear a container with a fake content because we faked completely the link to say this point to an error, the content is not available at all. So you can still crawl and walk the container, but you cannot download until you say restore. That's something we've developed. With the help of pointers, it was really easy to manage. And also, if we have pointers, we played a lot with this. We spent 1 month to develop a snapshotting feature on top of the containers that let us just playing with links even at the end, eventually on the device itself. We take the container, we create a new one, we copy all the links, but we do hard links on the chunks of files that are on the storage. The snapshot doesn't cost anything, and because all the objects are versioned, when you snapshot the container, you consume twice the capacity, but in fact on the storage by itself, you just consume twice the inodes number. So it isn't instant, but we have the feature to freeze it during the operation so that you don't do any operation. But this is something that quite accompanied the archiving ability, is able to fix it in the time for a small amount of time, take the snapshot, it depends on the number of contents. Of course, if you have millions of it in the containers, it will take some time. And then after that, you can reactivate, unfreeze the container once the data has been copied. Okay, you just make hard links and you mangle the pointers in the container.
So then is an existing tool to do this?
Those are not open source for the moment.
But with money you get.
Now this is a mistake. Both are open source now. No, but this one is available as a service. You access it with HTTP GET and POST. The other one is a command line interface tool. because it takes quite some time and we don't want to break any timeout, and so it gives you the percentage of evolution, and that's it. So you can take snapshots easily. Oh, I forgot to explain what the service does. The OpenIO chargeback service helps you compute consumptions, how many bytes you have in your container. It might seem simple, like expressed like this, but when you consider not the container, but the end user and all its footprint on the data, the end user might have a lot of containers in a lot of accounts on your platform. You can imagine easily that the user has pictures in a specific containers, emails, has snapshots. We say that we were able to compute the snapshot. If you use HTTP, S3 or Swift, you have dynamic and static large objects that use segments in a side container. All of this space use actual data on the platform, but is not reported in the single container that you could imagine. So we just develop, because we have pointer, listing, prefixes, and so on, a simple service that lets you describe for your platform, your usage, what are the patterns you are using. If you deployed file system extensions, simply mention that you will have a prefix with the typical prefix for the file system connector. If you use S3, mention the segments prefix for all the containers, and so. So that with a simple get bill for that end user, account user, we will do listing in the basis of accounts, and then find all the containers and give you the sum of all the data consumptions on the services. So that's quite easy, and the last, no. Another thing, I said we had containers in the solution. The containers had a cardinality limit, not because we decided it, because of the implementation. A single container was stored in a SQLite database. Once the database becomes too big, the indexes are too slow, and it is necessary to reduce the size of the base. And one way is to simply shard, configure a limit of the numbers of content in each container, automatically let the system add new containers, new shards when the limit is reached, and expose this as a seamless feature, completely hidden behind the proxy. The trade-off, you cannot do without any trade-off when you do things like sharding and so. Obviously, if you have several shards, it is more difficult to list, especially if you want to list in a sequential, in a sorted manner. And a random get, if you want a specific version, you don't know in which shard it is present, we add in the last one, so you have to find, to run the last to the first to find the right container. So that's the trade-off that we will have. This is not available yet. The pull request is still pending, but it will be open source. It should be during the months that is coming, for example. And last but not least, we had the notion of storage policy. We have pointers everywhere, but we had not, the S3 way to configure this. And that's mandatory. If you want to expose the S3 compliance list, be able to say, okay, for my container, I have items with the prefix img dot something, older than 1 week. I want to move them on a colder storage, another pool of services. I want to reduce the replication because I consider that it will be less often accessed. That kind of thing. And IDM for the self-healing ability of the platform, the capacity to detect that we do not respect the storage policy, so that we can raise an event. Oh, we configured 3 copies, we received only 2 copies for the content. Just trigger reconstruction of the copy of the content. This is open source too, as a side script, but that is still already available in the open source solution. That what has been made, or at least what has been requested on GitHub. So what will happen now? In the short term, we have a release cycle that is quite a yearly cycle. We are at the moment where all the features set is considered as mature in that release. We have already started a test campaign and so, but we know, and that's always like this, that we have to harass, harness, kick, I don't know all the terms that are appropriated, but we have focused on the features, that's it. Now we have to focus on their reliability. That's the most important for the rest of the life cycle of the solution. And in the longer term, it's OpenIO, the software-defined storage in itself, as a whole, that is involved in the same kind of evolution. I said the set of features is stable, and it won't evolve. Probably it won't evolve more at the end, because if it evolves, it is internally, not what is exposed on the outer world. So it is not the star anymore, because in my opinion, it is just an enabler that is useful for the new star of the for the playground. This is the new star on the playground is in my opinion, the Grid for us, because the only thing that matters is the data itself and the processing that you do on it. The data storing it has been managed. Everything that Julien presented to you is the next step. Simply process the data. And so I consider this nearly SDS is the adult. I just want the software-defined storage solution is the adult. Comment il a engendré? It make an offspring, first offspring. This is the Grid for apps. Why did that offspring happen? Because the first time we deployed the software-defined storage, a lot of physical resource remained on the platform. So obviously we cannot let this unused. We deployed the logic on the same conscience basis to consume it close to the data. We came to a framework. The framework is becoming the new, it is evolving and is becoming an enabler for the software-defined storage by itself. Everything that I presented, the chargeback service, the life cycle, I don't remember, there are so much of them. The chargeback, the archiving, the snapshotting, and so, all of them are tasks, little tasks that can be spread on top of Grid for apps. And if the couple of SDS and Grid for apps has to evolve, it is together, but with SDS using Grid for apps, and in a certain way, closing the cycle, it made them, but it is on the step to use it. Je pourrais vous le faire en français, ce sera beaucoup plus clair, mais en gros, la boucle est en train de se terminer. Désolé pour nos camarades anglais, mais je veux dire, par opportunité, il a créé Grid for apps, et par opportunité, il va désormais s'en servir pour en fait répartir la charge de calcul, que le self-healing, l'archiving et tout ça, sur le Grid for apps lui-même, en fait. Et donc, du coup, le SDS va devoir être revu. Il est assez terre à terre. Quand on doit écrire un événement pour dire attention, j'ai telle copie, tel fichier qui est arrivé, on le pond dans une queue, mais on ne le pond pas vers une API. Et ça, c'est tout des... Vous ne le verrez pas, mais en interne, il va évoluer comme ça vers quelque chose de beaucoup plus propre, pluggable et APIfié. Ça ne se dit pas, mais au moins on le comprend, quoi. And that's it. Vous venez de rater la présentation à Dailymotion, enfin par Dailymotion quand même, je tiens à le dire, j'entends bien. Donc je suis navré pour le coup parce que c'est assez dense, le créneau horaire, j'avais dit à peu près 3 quarts d'heure, machin, c'est obligé de... I was forced to do it in half an hour. There was surely the matter to do it into 45 minutes, sorry. So, if you have any questions, feel free. We are still on time. If you have not, and if you are completely stuck by end the day and the presentation, there's no problem with that.
If I understand, you meant storage, and as you have resources available, you make grid for apps, and now, in fact, you will make storage with grid for apps.
It will be, there is one important point, what will be moved to Grid for Apps won't be removed from the open source part. All the things will remain available because you need to operate the platform, you need to self-heal, to make it self-heal, but it will remain available as scripts, but you will have to automate them by yourself. If you want the things to work smoothly, completely integrated, simply install the Grid for Apps on top of it. The only difference will, no.
Well, if I understand, the new features will be available as grid for apps, and not anymore in the core.
The features that are necessary to the core.
Storage features, not.
That's the direction that we are going to take. Yes, to move every single high-level task as a Grid for Apps task, and not develop it as we traditionally did it in a service accessible with an API. The API will be the contract that will be exposed through Grid for Apps. That's the main difference. And use the scalability layer of Grid for Apps to let the task be scaled and use and factorize all the accounting task with how many CPU did it take, how many bytes did it manage, so that you to gather all that administrative matter in the Grid for Apps layer, and just focus on the business itself.
You know the part of code that is possible to be included in Grid for Apps, and the part of code that must remain as core.
1/3 maybe, and probably 1/3 because we have a lot of side tools, side scripts, and so that can be transformed so that. Yes, maybe.
That are currently licensed in GPL, and you will magically relicense them.
Currently, we are on those scripts. We are owners of but you should not lose the ability to use it. I mean, our problem is to gain adoption. So let you use it is the best way, even at scripts. My goal is to convince you to buy the Grid for Apps and to let you use the scripts and see that it is not hard to use, but hard to operate at a large scale. If you have just a free host to manage, start the scripts in the cron tab, it will be enough for you once a day and crawl everything. If you start with millions of contents and thousands or millions of containers, that's not the same kind of problem. And the Grid for Apps will be there to let you plug the internal administration, also, not only the business administration, as its own Elastic layer. You have the storage, but you will also have the Elastic layer for the Grid for Apps. That's it. You are still on time to see the next. Really interesting presentation by Cedric. Probably. And Solvik is a much better speaker than myself, so you can go. Thank you very much. And
Thank you.